business incubators does the same job of what the egg incubator or child incubator does. Find a market need or create a market need. So the money is the major problem for the failure.
If you have an idea which you strongly believe in and have the spirit of entrepreneurship thriving inside you, then trust me, this is the show totally for you. From the family of Reach Skyline, I welcome you to the third episode of The Business Boss. And today, I'm pretty sure that this episode is going to be one of the favorites for many of us because the guest of the day today heads the Incubation Center, which is actually acting as the safety net for many startups and entrepreneurs through their initial phases. So, without any delay, let us welcome the guest of the day, Mr. Parvez Alam, the CEO of the Crescent Incubation Council. Welcome, sir.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, fine.
It's great. I'm very thrilled to have you on the show today, sir.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I think, I've gone through some of your information. It's really exciting. In this post-COVID scenario, you are motivating entrepreneurs. So,
Yes, sir.
so we are all of here for one word called entrepreneurship, and then definitely whatever possible we will support.
Yes, sir. So I'm looking forward to have a very knowledgeable discussion today. So without any delay, let me shoot the questions. Uh, as far as I've heard from the people, many are not clear about what is exactly the incubation center. So as a man of the show today, could you explain the listeners about what really is an incubation center and how it is helping the startups and the entrepreneurs through their initial phases?
Yeah, it's a good question to start with. And first of all, thanks for Rich Skyline for organizing this interview. And then I also would like to acknowledge my management for providing us this opportunity. So, as the word incubator, if you see, in fact, we often say this the word incubator, we often heard about child incubator or egg incubator, right? So, so here we call a business incubator. In fact, sometimes when I explain this the incubator, they were even coming and asking me, is there anything related to hospitals or things like that? So basically, these incubators, the business incubators, does the same job of what the egg incubator or child incubator does. It converts the premature state to mature state, right? Similarly, as a business incubator, we convert the premature business adult to a mature business adult. So that's what we call as business incubator. So, but often it called incubation center. So everyone is confused. Yeah, but I would say reasonably now the awareness has been increased. So when we also named our, it is actually not CIC, it's CIIC.
IIC.
So when we named it, we said Crescent Innovation and Incubation Council. Otherwise, initially we are framed as Crescent Incubation Council. So the innovation comes first, and then automatically will help this innovated business adult people to become a mature business adult. That's what we do in Incubation Center. I hope that answers the...
Yes, sir. It's very clear. So going through your profile, I understood that you have been in various designations in different business functions. So tell us about how you ended up with this incubation center, and also please tell us about Crescent Innovation and Incubation Council.
Yeah, it's a long story, but to cut short, I was in corporate profile for almost 12 years in my career.
Okay.
So the promoter of the Crescent University, Mr. Abdul Qadir, approached me in one of the CI meetings, and then we were just chatting each other. So he was looking for somebody like me, exactly. So when he see my LinkedIn profile, he said he offered me the job at the same table.
Okay.
But the background is now when government started this, especially this DST, initially funded this business incubation center. When they started, they said that there is a new role they created called CEO, Chief Executive Officer. In academia world, CEO means it is Chief Education Officer.
Yes.
So they never probably heard about this terminology. So they said, preferably a non-academician who understand the business, who has run business, even who has run the startup, should preferably has to take this position. That's how this DST or even the all other DBT are funding. When the Atal Incubation Center recently started, they also said the CEO should come from a business background. So, though these incubation centers are primarily supported and funded by academia, as per the government guidelines, they should have a CEO who should come from a business background. So, because of my business background, I got this job, I would say rather. Now, why I left my luxurious corporate profile and then I expect you to ask this question. Yeah, so coming to this, so it is because of my passion on entrepreneurship. So I want to become an entrepreneur. So I've been successfully enterprising various projects in my previous company. Thanks to my previous company, UCAL, who has been made me actually an entrepreneur material. So now that's why I was very passionate about taking up this role. Now I'm very pride that saying that we have supported 36 startups, 36 companies. Instead of I became an entrepreneur, one company, we have supported 36 companies so far, and then 21 student startup groups are also in the pipeline. So put together 50 plus companies, we have the pride of supporting it. So that's why I'm here.
Through CIIC, sir.
Yes, sir, through CIIC. And I think you asked some other question. You asked what is
about
CIIC?
CIIC, yes, sir.
Yeah, CIIC is promoted, as you name the word Crescent says. It is promoted by the Crescent University in Chennai. So we are 36-year-old university. So this university has been pioneering a lot of entrepreneurship initiatives. So one day they said we should support this incubation center. So in 2018, I joined in June 2018, and September 2018, we conceived a plan. We set up. So we have an independent building in the campus, and it is actually as per the government guideline. There should be a separate legal entity. So we are a separate sectioning company. Though we are supported by the university, we are a separate sectioning company. So the university funds, our budget, as well as government also funds. So thanks to BIRAC, Department of Biotechnology, comes under Ministry of Science and Technology. They funded 1.8 crore funding to us. So thanks to them. So now we are funded partially by the university, partially by the government, and then keep moving. That's it.
Okay, that's very interesting to listen to, sir. Sir, actually, before the interview, I made sure that I wanted to ask you a few mandatory questions. So one of them is, after ideation, people actually lose the big picture when they develop their idea into a business plan. So as a startup mentor, what do you think that there are the important components that should be taken into building a business plan?
See, I being come from a corporate world, I see there is a big difference in a business development or product development while I was sitting in corporate as well as in startup. So in fact, my first job is R&D. So in research and development, I joined. So while we are developing a product or any idea, the first thing we do is market survey. We say that what is the market availability for this product? Is the market somebody is going to buy? Is there any demand? That is the first thing we do. And second thing we do is a competitor survey, what we call as benchmark survey. We see if anybody has same developed this product. If so, what is their difference and how we have to make our thing different. These two things is the primary input for R&D. Means to develop a product or invest in a project or R&D, the first two things we ask is these two questions.
The market
but unfortunately,
and the benchmark.
These forms even input before even we putting money in the R&D. This is first two things we do. Then only we'll finalize this our project. Whereas here it is actually it's other way around. Completely ulta. What happened is somebody like Archimedes, Eureka, they invented this idea, some startup, and suddenly they say, I have great idea. It become the next Uber of the world and next Swiggy of the world. And then they will say, now nobody is buying it. So half of the startup coming and telling me, sir, I have a great product, sir, but nobody is buying it. What is this happening? They blame government, they blame incubation. So in fact, I'm going to tell you the major reason for the startup failure is, the startup
Okay.
failure rate is very high.
Mhm.
It
Yes,
is
sir.
again because of the market.
Okay.
So when they make a business plan,
Mm.
however great idea it should be,
Mhm.
but unless it is addressing to a sizable market, unless the market wanted, there is no point in making a business plan. There is no point in making the startup. I think that is what I feel
Mhm.
it's a major missing element while I was working in this domain for the last 2 years. So that's why I sit with the startup and then trying to identify where is the market. So
Okay.
I'm bringing my corporate experience
Mhm.
into the table, and then I'm saying that now tell me where is the market. So there are 100 people who will, even if they have a great idea, government funds them.
Mm.
So technologically, there is no problem. But I
Mhm.
feel startups being predominantly techies, the business, mindset is missing.
Yes, sir. As you said, feasibility is very important criteria that should be looked into. So, talking back about the incubation center. So, is there any criteria or the parameters that the incubation center will be looking into when they choose the startup for nurturing?
Yeah, of course. For example,
Mm.
when we said we have 36 startup,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that every startup who applied we have taken.
Okay.
So in our case, there are almost 100 and plus startups applied, but
Okay.
we have taken 36. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that we have rejected remaining them, but
Mm-hmm.
we told them that you go and improve it and come back. So
Mm.
we have a criteria.
Okay.
The first and foremost thing we'll ask them is give them pitch deck. So the pitch deck, we have a template we
Okay.
publish in our website also.
Mm.
So this template is very simple. You say
Mm.
what is the problem statement you're
Mm.
trying to solve,
Okay.
and what is your solution,
Mm.
and have anybody done this already?
Mm.
Do you have any IP?
Mm.
And who are the competitors? Is there any
Mm.
market? So
Okay.
basically, we'll ask all these questions, and they have to
Mm.
come and give the pitch deck. And first, they will present it to us. Then we have an advisory board with
Okay.
eminent advisors
Mm-hmm.
who are CEO of we have three external advisors, Dr.
Okay.
Taskumari, who is Camp CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we have two more gentlemen, Mr. Chandu Nair, Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie Joseph. They are from the angel investors. They are entrepreneurs and angel investors in Chennai Angels. So
Okay.
basically, I will show it to them. We vet them, saying
Mm.
that what do you think this startup has the potential.
Okay.
Then because this success of the incubator
Mm-hmm.
is nothing but the success of their startups.
True.
So the right startups we take, the right
Mm.
will succeed. So that is the main criteria. We will
Mm.
see the first and foremost thing we will see is how the passion of the founder. So what is founder's passion?
Mm-hmm.
And second thing is we see what is an IP. We
Okay.
basically take startups, though we are a sector agnostic,
Mm.
in the sense we are not particularly, but majority we are focusing on two thrust areas called
Okay.
life sciences
Mm.
and industry 4.0. When I say
Okay.
life sciences, it talks about biotechnology, agriculture, healthcare, medical device, everything. In fact, we are a BIRAC funded bio incubator. So life science is one of focus, and second is
Mm.
industry 4.0. When I say industry 4.0,
Mm.
there are 9 elements of industry 4.0, which is artificial intelligence, IoT, machine learning,
Okay.
and cyber security, etc. So these two things are primarily our focus areas. But recently we have got some startups who are working in the edutech domain. Now edutech
Okay.
is you having seen this Byju's of the world and everything. Now people are
Oh,
focusing on edutech, that is
edu
education
technology.
technology.
Yes, sir. So that's very interesting to note. I'm sure the budding entrepreneurs or who are very passionate about business are also noting down the criteria that you have mentioned about. So moving on now. So in the initial stage, obviously the startup entrepreneurs will be looking out for funding from the venture capitalist or the angel investors. So give the listeners a few tips or tell them about the ground rules that should be followed when they pitch in their idea to the venture capitalist or the angel investors.
See, the venture capitalists are angels. So when they say angel investors, they are not. Of course, they have a kind in heart like angel, but they also, they are not doing charity. So they
Definitely.
also want their
Profits.
money to, yeah, they also want their money to come back. So what they primarily looking is actually they have this top three criteria.
Okay.
So the one is they say scalability.
Hmm.
So now, if you tell me what is the great innovation Uber and Ola or Swiggy and Zomato did, the I
They made
know
use
my
of the shared
childhood.
economy. Huh?
Yeah, so see, I know my childhood days. Domino's and pizzas delivers at home, and so door delivery is not something new. But what the business model innovation? So what? So the innovation when we say, not necessarily it should be a product. Everyone thought that we have to write a patent, invent something technology to become a startup. It's not like that. When they define innovation, they say it could be product innovation, it could be process innovation, or it could be business innovation. So what Swiggy did is they've created a marketing. I would call even as a blue ocean strategy, where we create a market demand. So they have found a time when there are so many lazy people who don't want to go to restaurant. Actually, people go to restaurant. So they found a market need where there are people. That's why I'm saying you have to find a market need or create a market need. So everybody having the smartphone, who there's when one click they want order, who are willing to pay. See, earlier the door delivery model is free door delivery. Now they are charging money, but people are still willing to pay. So they have made this, but one thing is they have created one platform. They have made it, simple, and people can use it. So why people invested Swiggy again and again? Because they acquire millions of millions customers every day. So basically the investors what they look at is the scalability. How fast? So Flipkart, for example, now Walmart has come and acquired it, but instead of brick and mortar business model, if you say you are farming e-commerce, then scalability is very high. Flipkart within 10 years they've grown to $18 billion company. So the point is the first and foremost criteria for any angel investors and VCs is that scalability. Number one. Number two, they asking is founder's passion. Obviously, they also look at how passionate the founder is, what is his background, and things like that. That's why they often the founder's profile. And they also doesn't want a one-man show. They're looking at founders come from one person from marketing background, another is from financial, another is from technical. So they prefer a combination. And third thing is innovation. Actually, this innovation, whatever we are talking about, technology, this comes at third. So the first foremost is scalability. Second is the founder's passion. The third is the technology.
Technology. So these are the three things that they should keep in mind when they pitch in, right, sir?
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
Okay, sir. So talking about funding, I recall that I have studied about different levels of funding that is involved here, like Series A, Series B. Could you please explain the listeners about the levels of funding that is involved here?
Yeah, actually, this is one of the very fancy word, Series A, B, C. So,
yes, sir.
But if you see the book definition, there is a Series A, B, and C. So people often call pre-Series A, but pre-Series A is nothing but called seed funding.
Seed funding, okay.
Seed funding. But seed funding in today's context, ground reality, is only few investors are doing seed funding.
Okay.
Means basically the Series A are basically once the company grows to a certain level, once they reach the revenue stage, they also say skin in the game. So the Series A fund considers that somebody has already founders put in money. Okay. They have put in their effort already, and then coming and they already doing some revenue, and then they want to scale it up. So that's why it's called. So basically, it's the first and foremost is called seed funding and pre-series A, which is predominantly not available to all investors.
Okay.
So that's why we, as an incubation center, we help our startups to get government seed funding. So the government gives seed
Oh,
funding with a
okay.
government grant.
So when the
So
ideation
that is
is
called
set up,
pre.
they'll be giving seed funding, right, sir? After the
Yes.
stage of
So
ideation itself.
yeah, seed funding is nothing but you come with idea and then you are asking money.
Ah, okay.
Maybe you would have done some prototype, but not to the extent you have done. You have not
Mm-hmm.
probably even got your first customer.
Hmm.
So Series A is basically once you have started building to certain extent. Say
Hmm.
you are reaching $1 million sales or $500,000 revenue you have already reached, and then you are asking and coming business expansion
Mm-hmm.
money. So
Mm-hmm.
that is typically when the be in the range of $2 million to say $10-15 million.
Okay.
The money will be given in CDCA. In fact, we are very glad to say three of our startups, Big Five Technologies, we got as well as Farm Again. So these three
Oh,
companies have almost received the CDCA funding
okay.
of say $1 to $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
$1 to $3 million almost.
Great.
Um, then it is called Series B funding. Series
Mm-hmm.
B funding is a furthermore development.
Hmm.
So the round, so we call these all rounds of funds.
Okay.
So one round to another round, there could be 2 years of time frame
Mm-hmm.
because So basically, Series B will call for say 15 million to 30, 50 million dollars. 30 to
Oh,
50 million dollars.
okay.
It will go. So it may take sometimes couple of years where you convince the investors to invest.
Mm-hmm.
And Series C is basically furthermore $50 million to furthermore investment,
Okay.
say 50 million to 75 million and 100 million or so.
Hmm.
So some few companies I have seen who has raised to even Series D or E also.
Oh.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but basically ABC is the very normal terminology. Typically one majority will go through. So these are the
Okay.
typically the rounds of funds
Funding.
they
Okay.
basically get from angel investors and
Okay.
venture capitalists basically.
Mm-hmm.
So since you asked this question, I will also tell you. So the first and foremost funding for a startup is called 3F. You would have heard
Three
about
of.
it.
Okay.
3F, family, friend, and
Okay.
fool.
Yes, sir.
So
Huh.
yeah. So basically, these are the people who does it less than 50 lakhs.
Okay.
Okay, so the family, friend, and fool will give less than 50 lakhs.
Mm-hmm.
From 50 lakhs to say up to 5 crores
Hmm.
given by the angel investors who
Okay.
are typically individual investors,
Hmm.
and from 5 crores to up to 50 crores is given by venture capitalists. Venture
Mm-hmm.
capitalists are not individuals. The
There is
individuals will
form.
invest money, but it's
Hmm.
institutional investors.
Hmm.
So there'll be a fund manager who manages the fund.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then 50 crores to 500 crores are called private equity fund.
Okay. Hmm.
So private equity fund is normally not given for this type of startups.
Okay.
Basically, the private equity is given for existing business operations
Hmm.
for scaling up. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the stages in which cycle the investors will invest.
Okay. That's really interesting to know, sir. You have actually explained the whole funding process. So, moving on back to the incubation center. So, apart from the financial assistance, what are the other assistance that have been provided to the startups during the nurturing period, sir?
Yeah, so primarily we help them
Hmm.
in money and market. We say
Hmm.
two things. One is
Okay.
money and second is market.
Market. Hmm.
Money comes in two forms. So we say money, market, and mentoring. So these are the
Okay.
three
3M.
M's we will give. Three
Mm-hmm.
M's. So the money primarily comes in two forms. One is government grant, another is private investment.
Hmm.
I think I have already explained all
Yes,
the
yes,
private
sir.
investment cycle.
Yes, sir.
Government grant typically ranges from 2 lakhs up to 50 lakhs. So
Okay.
these are all equity free government grants. So the majority of them, they doesn't act for equity.
Hmm.
So the government want to push,
The entrepreneurship.
more
Hmm.
entrepreneurship and employment opportunities.
Hmm.
So they give from 2 lakhs to 50 lakhs different funds. In fact, 6 of our startups have received such type of grants. So two of them received Three of them received 2 lakhs, two of them received 5 lakhs, and three of them received 5 lakhs, and then one of them received 50 lakhs. So these grants are basically given based on the milestones. You have to say them that sir, this is what we are committing, and I'm achieving this. Once you achieve the results, you will get all the money back. First, you get 50% advance. So this is basically to impetus the entrepreneurship. It is comes. So the money comes in two forms. One is government seed grant, another is private investment.
Private.
Then market. Then comes market. We help the startups to build the market. And especially thanks to our Crescent promoters who has the connections in Middle East market and all. Now, because I was previously head of international market in my previous company, so we help them to connect to European market, Middle East market, even international market, even Canada and USA and all. In fact, I am very also proud to say we are one of the incubators selected by European Commission as part of 15 incubators from India.
Congratulations.
As well as 15 incubators. Yeah, thank you. 15 incubators from Europe to do business. So basically, like we now will tell them some startup in Europe or US or Middle East, they want to come to India and test the market. Now they don't have a B2B budget. They don't have a business to business meeting budget, whereas corporates has. So what we does is we help them to come. They can talk to the fellow startups. They can stay here. Similarly, our startups can go. So what we call as soft landing programs. So these type of programs. So one is we help in domestic market, another is international market.
Okay.
And third comes the mentoring. So we have a pool of mentors, technical mentors, business mentors. We have around 50 plus mentors. So we help them mentoring both in the technical side and business side. So once as you say, the incubator is similar starting, you are basically incubating, right? So the startup, so money, market, and mentoring. So these are the three things we support when they come to the incubation center.
I think, as I said in the beginning, incubation center is truly acting as the safety net for almost all the startups, I believe. So moving on, from your experience, so please tell us what is actually the success rate that the entrepreneurs are actually crossing the line of the startup. And if you think that they have actually, many of them have actually failed, what are the reasons that they couldn't, cross that line of the startup?
See, if you see the infant mortality rate is very high in startup.
Okay.
So 45% of the startup fail in first 6 months. And still 90% of the startup fail. So it means that only 10% of startup succeeds. So there is a statistics, published statistics. So the startup fail because of top three reasons. One is around 45% fail because there is no market need. As I explained you, market is the important thing with which the startup fail.
Definitely.
The remaining 30% fail because of the cash flow. So they don't have money. So they bootstrapped it. So later they fail.
Okay.
Now there are a lot of avenues for money. Now government comes with around 50 plus schemes. If they come to the incubation center, they can avail. And number two, now the private investment. If you see in the last 5 years, if you take the private investment market, on the average it is from 5 billion. In fact, last year it was $9 billion. $9 billion US dollars in money has come to India through private investment to only startups. I'm talking about an Indian figure, and it is given to 656 startups. Okay. So basically, money is the major problem for the failure. For a good startup, for a good scalable idea, money is not a big problem. So money is the major failure so far people have failed. And the remaining 20% they fail because of the co-founders problem. So there's an important thing, when the money comes, there is a fight among the co-founders.
Definitely.
So this is another big problem. So because of these three reasons, if you collect all the failure rates, your startups, so these are the top three reasons for the startup failures.
So talking about the incubation center, as I mentioned about it earlier, the accessibility to the incubation center is quite low. I mean, especially in India. Why do you think it happens? The awareness is also quite low about the incubation center. So, the government has taken a lot of measures to, inculcate the spirit of entrepreneurship by allocating funds.
See, there was, how should I say, the ground reality is incubators also fail.
Oh.
Okay, so the incubator sustainability is the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
So far, as per the statistics, there are 250 plus incubators in the country.
Oh.
But if you actively see, because we are actively, I'm part of the Indian Incubator Association called ISBA. We have around 100 members active. Okay, and maybe very successfully doing maybe top 50, to be very frank. So now the incubators, though the government funds, incubators are still a big problem because it's a social motive and a not-for-profit Section 8 company. So and predominantly supported by the university environment. So 99% are supported by academia. So academia has its own objectives, their own priorities. So based on all these things, one is of course awareness is low, but the people who go to the incubators also very less. But having said that, if you see the statistics of the success rate of the startups, who goes to the incubator, who doesn't goes to the incubator. The startups who goes to the incubator, the success rate is 20%.
Oh.
Who doesn't go to the incubator, the success rate is 7%. So that means if you go to the incubator, definitely there is a still, because there is a not reinventing the wheel. They will at least tell you what not to do rather than what to do. Okay.
True.
So that is important thing. But the awareness, as you rightly said, the awareness is very low because actually the government has to fund more incubators. In fact, Atal Incubation Center said mission of creating 1,000 incubators in the country and all. So the demand actually is more for incubator, but the supply is very less.
Okay, sir. That's really eye-opening. And to loosen up, I'm coming to the favorite question of the show. I would like to ask to every guest of my show, what is really the source of your resilience? Because you have been in this business field for all throughout your career. So what is that something that keeps you going? Because I think that is very essential, especially for the budding entrepreneurs, to get motivation from you.
Yeah, see, the most complex job profile is the CEO of the business incubator, I see. I think so. Because here you are trying to help the startups who are already into trouble. The market is in trouble. Now, especially post-COVID scenario, people are asking, with a lot of problems, how they will start up, come and survive. And our business model, if you see the revenue model, we are charging, for example, we are charging some rent, very nominal. We are having 3 packages called 3,500 rupees per month, another is 7,000 rupees, another is 12,500 rupees. Basically, it's a varies while they use infrastructure. Suppose they want lab equipments, then we'll charge 4,500. Otherwise, the basic package is 3,500 rupees per month. So 3,500 rupees per month is just hardly $50 per month, is nothing. Actually, our cost of the salary and overheads much higher than that. So basically, our idea is that's why I often say we are not working for the university; we are working for the nation. We are trying to solve the unemployment problem of the country. That's why the government. So we are highly dependent on the government grant. So that is the important thing. But having said that, as I told, I was in a very good luxurious corporate profile. But still, I came is that I want to take more challenges. I never want to settle with comfortable position. So I have reached my level at very young age in my corporate profile as a CXO level. So I said I want to take more challenges. And the second thing is I want to become an entrepreneur one day.
Oh.
So I said, So I said, let me test my own waters. So I think that's the spirit. But more than anything else, as I said, we are working for a nation. We are getting a lot of satisfaction. and the passion is there. For example, in this COVID, many of our startups have turned their solutions. Somebody is making textile; they made a nano coating mask, three-ply mask, and somebody who is working on 3D printing, they have done the 3D printed mask. So the people keep adapted their solutions. The startups are very very frugal in nature.
Sir,
And
sorry to interrupt. There is actually a problem in the visual, your visual, sir. It has been stopped for like 10 seconds.
yeah.
Now it's clear, sir. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. So the startups are very frugal. See, this country, our country with 1.3 billion population, we can't make big investments in R&D, especially after this COVID. So we are highly dependent on frugal solutions. We often say jugaad and things like that, right? So I think India need a lot of jugaad solutions. We are highly dependent on it, and startups are the only way they can support jugaad or frugal innovation. So that way, I'm very passionate and very excited to work in this, and especially chosen this as a career. I definitely feel that I made a right choice.
Definitely, sir. And from the start of the interview, even since when I contacted you, I could actually see the passion, your passion towards the spirit of inculcating the entrepreneurship among the youngsters. Congratulations to you, and we are very happy from the family of Breathe Skyline. I would like to thank you for having this knowledgeful discussion. As I promised the listeners, this discussion was thoroughly a knowledgeful discussion on every level of entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Subbu. I think being a fresher, I believe you have digged up with a lot of information about your questions are very very sensible, and
thank you,
thank Reach Skyline as well as you for doing this type of program to motivate entrepreneurs. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And my dear audience, I am damn sure that you have motivated by this session again. So let us meet in another session with another interesting personality. Till then, keep learning and keep growing all together. Thank you.
Reach Skyline. Embrace digital.